Hello everyone, today's tutorial is for my very first pattern I wrote a little over 4 years ago. This is the Laurel Crossbody Wallet. This is one of my absolute favorite patterns and still one of my best-selling patterns that I have. It is a fun, versatile little wallet. You can use it just as a wallet. You can just slide it down in your purse. There's also an option to attach a wrist strap, so you can carry it with a wrist strap. And then of course there's the crossbody option where you can just attach a crossbody strap and wear it across your body, which I know a lot of my clients would use it as. This is a complete zip around wallet, so it completely closes with a zipper. Don't let that scare you. It's not hard. I will walk you through it step by step. This wallet has 10 card slots with these fun diagonal that you can play with color or pattern. And then it also has a zipper pocket and a long cash pocket here. And then it also has 2 slip pockets in the back. So you can fit a lot in this thing. I know a lot of people can fit their phone in there as long as you don't have one of those little pods there on the back. It fits nicely in here if you want to do that. And then this tutorial is for the full-size crossbody, but there is a Laurel Mini as well. And a lot of the techniques that we are going to be doing for this are used in this one as well. The Mini only has card pockets, but it's going to be the same type of technique in putting the zipper on. These 2 patterns come in a bundle if you want to get both of them together. So let's get started on making our Laurel crossbody. Okay, so let's take a look at our pattern pieces. You of course have your 2 main body pieces here. I have a different color for the exterior and the interior. The pattern calls for one color, but you do you, and you make it how you want. Then we have our card pockets. You will have your template 1, which again just calls for one color. I wanted to make mine extra colorful to match my exterior fabric here. So however you want to do it, if you want to do just one color for your template 1, one color for your template 2, if you want to mix them up and just create a smorgasbord of color, I am all for that. Template 1, you'll cut 3 with the pattern piece and then 3 more reversed. Same thing for template 2, you'll cut 2 from the pattern piece and then 2 on the reverse. So just flip that pattern piece over. And then you have your 2 card pocket backs with that. We have our long pocket, which is template 3, and our zipper pockets. And then we have our strap connector, our wrist strap, and our crossbody strap. Along with the pieces, you're going to need 2 sets of zippers. You're going to have your longer zipper, which I definitely recommend a size 5 zipper for this, so that the width of your wallet once it's zipped is a little bit more. For your internal or your interior zipper, I like to use a size 3 zipper. You can use the size 5 if you want to keep everything the same. That's not a problem. And then of course you'll need your hardware, which is listed in the pattern, I think on page 2. I don't have my rivets out here yet because I always, if I pull them out while I'm filming, I always end up losing them as I move things around. So you'll also need rivets with what's shown here. So go ahead and get all your pieces cut out, and we are going to start with our 3 straps. Our 3 straps consist of a strap connector, which is what's going to be connected to the back of the wallet, and what we will actually connect our other straps to, depending on how you want to carry your Laurel. This will have the D-rings attached to it, and also we'll sew and rivet it to the back of the wallet. We also have our wrist strap, and we have our crossbody strap For the crossbody strap, I'm going to show you the technique to making a long strap from 2 pieces. This is nice if you don't have a long roll of cork or fabric to work with. If you do, you can just skip over this section. But I'm going to show you what to do if you need to make it with 2 smaller sections, or even 3 smaller sections, depending on the length of your cork. It'll be the same, but I'm going to show you with 2. So you have your 2 longer, shorter sections here. And you're going to lay one down. I'm sorry, this is the same color as my table here. So hold on, let me grab a piece of paper here so we can see a little bit better. So lay one of your straps down so it is right side up. Then we're going to lay the other strap down right side together so we have this right angle going on. You're going to match up your edges here for the right angle. Go ahead and take a pin and just draw a 45-degree angle from the corner here down to where it meets the corner down here. Let me zoom in just a little bit for us. Okay, you can get a ruler out, but you're just going to draw a 45-degree line across your piece here on the wrong side. Next, grab a clip and clip that in place. I'm going to get 2 here. And we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're just going to sew straight down this line. I am not going to transfer the camera back and forth right now because this is a pretty quick and simple step. But I want you to go over to the sewing machine. I'm going to pause it and do this myself. And we're just going to sew right across this line. You can back stitch at the beginning and the end to help keep everything in place. Once you have your 2 pieces sewn together, we're going to trim off this extra triangle here. Give about 1/4 inch or so from your stitch line and just trim off that extra. Then open up your piece and open up that seam so that it lays flat. Now, there's 2 options here. You can go back over and you can sew this down so that your seam is sewn down and lays flat, or you can just press it flat and it will stay in place and you won't have the extra stitching on your crossbody strap. So it's just a matter if you want extra stitching on your crossbody strap. I do have in the pattern what to do if you would like to have that extra stitching. I am going to actually not do that for this particular strap today. So we're going to move on from there, and I'm just going to keep mine kind of clipped for the moment so that that gets pressed down a little bit. Now, the next step, I'm going to move this out of the way. The next step is going to be the same for all 3 straps. So I'm going to show you on one, and then we will just rinse and repeat for the other ones. So here is our strap connector, and I need to grab my white pen. Sorry. And we're going to draw a line down the center of the strap connector. And you're going to do this on all 3 of your straps. So if you want to do it all at once, go ahead and do that. I'm just going to show you with one, and then you can go and do yours from there. So now that we have this line down the center, there's again 2 options for you. You can use double-sided tape. We're going to fold our edges into the center. So you can use double-sided tape to help you stick that down. or you can just use clips. It's your preference. I like to just clip it. I find that easy enough. With a smaller, skinnier strap like this, I tend to do one side at a time because the clips, if I clip both sides, the clips get in the way of my sewing and I end up hitting clips on the other side while I'm trying to sew. So what you're going to do, either with tape or with clips, you're going to fold these edges to the center. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. When I go back to do my sewing, you'll notice I don't have one side clipped because it gets in my way. So you're going to fold both edges over to the center. And once we have that, we are going to go to the sewing machine and we are going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from our folded edge to get our strap connector ready to go. All right, so once you have it clipped or taped to your edges are folded in, let's head over to the sewing machine and sew everything in place. All right, let's get our sides sewn down. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from our folded edge here. For this particular one, you can backstitch at the beginning of the end because we're going to fold these edges over and you're not going to see them once they're connected to the wallet. Now that this edge is sewn, I'm going to reclip my other side. And we're going to do the same thing and sew 1/8 of an inch away from the folded edge. All right, there is our strap connector. We're going to set that aside and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for our wrist and crossbody straps. Okay, all of our straps are now folded and sewn. Whew, all right, that was a lot. Go ahead and take the shortest piece, which is your strap connector, and just set that to the side. You're going to be using that later. Let's go ahead and finish our straps completely so we can have them out of the way and we can get our wallet started. We're going to start with our crossbody strap, and we are going to need our oh my gosh, slider buckle. Sorry, lost my words there. You're gonna need your slider buckle, and you're gonna need 2 of your swivel clips, and you're going to need 2 sets of rivets. Let's go ahead and put our slider buckle on. What I want you to do is to have the slider buckle upside down. You're going to take your end of your crossbody strap with the wrong side, so the side that has the raw edges. You're going to go down one side, and then you're going to come back up around the slider on the other side, so that when you fold over your edges, your wrong sides are going to be together, and the right side of your slider will be on the right side of your fabric. So go ahead and fold that over about an inch, inch and a half, up to you. We are going to go over to the machine and we're going to sew just 2 lines, or you can sew a box around to secure your end. Okay, we're going to fold 1/8 of an inch away from our edge down here, and then we're going to sew a second line 1/4 of an inch away from our edge. Okay, let's go ahead and cut those threads, and we will put a rivet in. We have our end secure. I'm going to add a rivet for a little more security, and then also just for some decorativeness. I like to go just above my stitch lines, and I'm going to use my 2.5 millimeter hole punch, and I'm just going to punch a hole right there in the center. And then that's where I'm going to add my rivet. Make sure you don't punch through any of your stitching. And I'm going to pause for just a second to go set my rivet. All right, I got my rivet set, so let's go ahead and finish up this crossbody strap. You're going to take one of your swivel hooks, and you're going to, again, with the wrong side of the fabric with the raw edges, go ahead and thread that through so that the swivel hook is on the right side. Pull that all the way down close to your slider. Now, make sure nothing's twisted, because this is a nice long strap, feed with wrong sides together. You're going to feed your end through your slider and back through the other direction. So give yourself a little bit of room, and then double check that everything is straight. Now let's put our other swivel hook on. Again, wrong side, raw edges here through swivel hooks. So your swivel hook's on the right end, right edge, right side. There we go. Fold over about an inch. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the slider. We're going to just sew 1/8 of an inch and then 1/4 of an inch away from this edge. and then we're going to put a rivet in. Let's get our end secure. When we have our end secure, we'll go get our rivet in just like we did on the slider. With our end secure, I'm going to punch a hole the same way I did for the other side on the slider. I'm just going to come just a little bit above, well, there we go, a little bit above those stitch lines right in the middle. I want to make sure that I'm not going through any of my other stitching. Punch a hole, put your rivet in, and we can get that set. Now our crossbody is complete. We can put that to the side. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And I'm going to do the same thing with my wrist strap, in the same type of manner. For the wrist strap, what you're going to do is you're going to put your slider on. Again, make sure the wrong side is against that bottom of the slider. I want you to fold over about an inch to 1.25 inches or so. You're just going to fold that over. Then you're going to take your other end and you're going to slide it between your pieces. A little too much. There we go. Slide it between your pieces so you make this little sandwich. Okay, and go ahead and butt that other raw end against the bottom of your slider. We'll go to the sewing machine. This time I'm going to sew a box. So I'm going to come across here. Let me zoom in for you. I'm going to come across here at the bottom, about 1/4 inch away from this edge. I'm going to go up 1/2 inch or so, back across and back down, and I'm just going to use my stitches from earlier as my guide along the side. So I'm going to sew a nice box, and then I'll put a rivet in between that box. So I guess I should say that the pattern does just call for 2 lines of stitching like we did on the crossbody strap. So that is fine if you do that. I still like to do a box on my wrist straps now, just to give it just a little more security. So I'm going to do the box like I explained just a few frames ago. All right, so there is our box. Now we can add the rivet to our wrist strap. Again, I am just going to punch a hole right here in the center, making sure not to go through any of my stitching. Put my rivet in, and I will get that set securely. But now your wrist strap is done. Now all your straps are done, we can finally move on to actually putting our wallet together, and we're going to start with the exterior main panel assembly. We are ready to actually start making our wallet now. So you want to get your 2 main panels, your exterior and your interior. I have already done this step, but I'm going to show you what I did. You're going to take your corner rounding template and you're going to place it so that your edges line up. Now, you're going to have, I'm going to take a kind of a scrap piece here and show you on this wrong side, you're going to have just a little bit of your corner here for your exterior. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take your pin and trace that rounded edge, okay? You're going to do that on all 4 corners. And once those corners are traced on all 4, so you just go around and on each corner is going to be the same. You're going to just cut where you've marked so you have these nice round corners, okay? So once you have your corners rounded, go ahead and set your interior aside, and we're just going to work with the exterior main body. On the wrong side of your body piece here, you want to mark your centers on this long edge. From there, you're going to want to mark over 1/2 inch on either side of that center mark. So this is your center mark. You're going to want to mark 1/2 inch to one side and 1/2 inch to the other, so that there is 1 inch between this. So you're going to do that on both of your corners. We're going to do something called a false stitch. This is going to be so when we put our zipper on the outside and then when we get everything put together, we're not going to be able to sew here in this middle part once we're putting everything together, because we want to be able to tuck our zipper ends. But we don't want to just leave it blank. So putting in this false stitch is almost like putting in a decorative stitch, but it helps visually to have this continuous line across. So we're going to do a false stitch on both sides here. I like to stitch from the front, the right side of my fabric, but I don't want to mark on the right side of my fabric. So the trick I do is I take this little pin here, and in these 2 marks on either side of my center mark, I just put a little pin through that very backing of my fabric. So I don't go all the way through because I don't want to make a hole on the other side, but I put a pin on each side, so that way when I turn it over this way, I know where to start and stop. So I use those pins as my marker as opposed to the lines that I drew. If you don't care, if you like the way that your bottom stitching looks well enough and it doesn't matter to you, by all means don't worry about that. Just sew from this side and you can sew between these 2 lines. If you want your top stitching to be that top thread, go ahead and do this method. Okay, so we're going to go over to the machine. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from this edge between our 2 marks or between our 2 pins, and we're going to do that on both sides. Leave a long tail at the beginning and the end. Instead of back stitching, we'll pull through the threads to this wrong side, tie them off. That will keep everything looking nice and neat. To when we put our zipper on, it will look like one continuous stitch line. So again, make sure you leave a long tail. Sew between either your pins that you put in, or if you have it on the other side, sew between those 2 marks from your center line. Okay, our false stitches are in. We're going to go over and pull these threads through to the wrong side and tie them off. You can remove your pins that are marking if you have them in, and we're going to pull our thread through to the wrong side. And tie off the threads once you have your knots in, you can either leave your tails long and just make sure they stay tucked in. You can clip them short and put a little bit of fray check on them, or you can burn the ends to keep them secure. So I'm going to get these pulled through. We're going to tie them off and we'll move on to the next step. Now you can see from the front we have this nice false stitch line, and those ends look very nice without the back stitching, and that is where we will stop and start once we get our zipper put on, and it will look just like one continuous stitch line. Now we are ready to get the zipper put on. So in your pattern on page 6 is going to show you or tell you the measurements. I've already drawn my lines, but you're going to measure in the amount it says on the pattern, and you're going to draw your line, and this is going to be your zipper guideline. You want to make sure this line is nice and dark because we're going to be putting some double-sided tape over it. You want to be able to see it through the tape. You're going to start your lines here where your false stitch ends. You're going to go all the way around your corners to where your other false stitch ends up there. Then you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to go all the way around. Now I drew most of my corners in already. You're going to draw your straight lines, and then you're going to fill your corners in. You can use your corner rounding template to draw those corners, but you see that it comes in just a little further, so you're going to have a lot of extra space here. So I don't particularly like using this template, but you're welcome to. I like to just kind of eyeball it, I guess you could say, and I just try to stick about the same distance away from the edge and draw it in myself. Again, you want to make sure those lines are nice and dark. Okay, once you have your lines drawn, you're going to want to get your long zipper, and you're going to want to fold over these ends here so that your zipper stops, and then you just want to go ahead and separate your long zipper so that you have your right half and your left half. Okay. To get your zipper in place, it's easiest to use double-sided tape. The method I like to use is to place my double-sided tape. I have these long this time. I don't know. I might have to cut them. They're kind of annoying me. And I used 1/4 of an inch tape, and I place it so my tape is so my line is right in the middle of the tape, and then I just go down the line here. As I come to my curved edges, I just bend the tape around and then just continue down on my straight edge. Now you can do one side at a time with your tape. It's up to you. I'm going to put both sides on here. Oh, I cut the paper and not the tape. But you do not want to take this paper backing off both sides at the same time, or you're going to be in for a sticky situation. So I'm going to go ahead and put both sides of the tape on, but I'm only going to remove the backing from one side at a time. If it's easier for you to just do one side at a time all the way around, you know, all together, that's fine as well. Okay, and go ahead and you want to make sure you stop that tape here where you have stopped your false stitches. You don't want to go all the way across that. Now, it doesn't matter which side you're going to have the opening of your zipper on. You can just pick if there is a side that you like better that you want to have for the front. Go ahead and put that side on the left side. Yeah, on the left side, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to start here on this right side, and I'm going to go ahead and take my backing partway off, and I'm going to grab the right side zipper. You're going to turn it so that the right side of the zipper is against the wrong side of your exterior main body. Now just line your zipper teeth up right here with your mark you made where the false stitching stops. So you're going to line your teeth up right there, and you're going to line the bottom of your zipper tape up with the line that you drew. So this is, like I said, this is your zipper guideline here. I'm going to clip that one in place just so it doesn't move on me. We're going to go up the straight portion, and then what I want you to do is I just want you to kind of curve your zipper around this edge of the corner. Okay, and then you're going to press down again on the straight edge. Don't press down that corner just yet. Okay, again, I'm going to get another clip. I'm going to clip that in place. I'm going to go just a little further just to keep my zipper kind of out of the way. Now we're going to come back to this edge, and I want you to press down here in the middle. Okay, and you're going to gently fold your zipper down around, and you see I have this little bump here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just scoot my zipper tape around, which means I will probably need to move this just a little bit. Getting your zipper to lay flat around your curved corner takes a little practice, and it takes a little finagling. Now you're going to have some slight bumps in there like you see, but they're going to be far enough down from your stitching that you're not going to see them from this side. So what you want to do is you want to be able to, once you get your stitching in, when you look at it from this edge, you're going to want to see, not really be able to see any of those folds in your zipper. So again, it might take a little bit of practice and a little bit of finagling and movement of that zipper, but you will be able to get a fairly smooth corner. Once I get my corner how I like it, I like to put a clip right there at the corner and on either side, so I know that it doesn't move when I'm going over the rest of the way. Okay, so let's just keep going with our zipper. Once again, down this straight edge here. I like to put clips every now and then just to kind of hold things where I want them. Go ahead and take off the rest of that tape backing. And we're going to do the same thing at this corner. I'm going to go right up kind of to where it starts to curve. Pull my zipper around that outside edge. Go ahead and clip that in place. Again, we had to move it a few times for the last one. You're going to want to start in the center and press that down and then come up the edge. And move it where you need it. So again, I'm going to pull this a little tighter here so I don't have quite so big of a fold in my zipper. And you're just going to smooth those out. And if you want to double check, you can flip it this way and you can look and you can be like, okay, my stitching is going to come right around here. Those edges won't, or those little folds aren't going to be seen because they'll be behind the stitching. Take your time with it. Don't get too frustrated if you're having to move it around a lot. I've made lots of these, and as you can see, I still move mine. So it just takes a little bit of patience. All right, once you get down to the edge, go ahead and just clip that last bit down, and you're going to have a tail that overhangs. It will be, I don't know, a little over 2 inches probably of extra tail. It's going to kind of depend on how you've gone around your corners. Some people get it a little tighter, some people get it a little looser, so there's not going to be a definite length of extra tail, but you do want this extra tail because that's what we're going to tuck in at the very end of our wallet. Once we finish up most of it, we're going to be tucking that tail in. All right, so once you have your zipper, taped down, we're going to go over to the machine. Again, I like to stitch from this right side, so I will be starting down here at the tail end, and I'm going to start right where my false stitch stopped. So I'm going to put my needle down right where it stopped. Go around 1/8 of an inch away from your fabric edge to stop right there where my false stitches stopped on this side. Okay, so let's head over to the sewing machine. Just like we did when we did our false stitch, you want to make sure you leave a long tail because we don't want to back stitch. We want to make this stitch look continuous. You want to put your needle down right at the end of that false stitch into the same hole if you can. That will help it, again, look just like a continuous stitch. So I'm going to go around 1/8 of an inch away from my edge, all the way around, being careful and slow on these rounded corners until I get to my other side and stop where the false stitching begins. All right, I tied off my my thread ends, pulled them through to the wrong side, tied them off, and then I used a needle to kind of tuck that underneath the zipper here. I am trying out leaving my zipper tails long. Another sewist said that she likes to leave hers long for this pattern because the ends just get tucked in between the two layers. She thinks it's a little more secure than clipping them, which I agree it probably is. If you clip them close, you have a chance of the knots coming undone. So I'm trying that out. In the pattern, it does call for you to clip and burn the edges. Feel free to do that. But I'm just trying out this technique that another maker suggested to me. So I tucked them up kind of underneath the zipper so they would not poke out later, and I'm going to leave them long. So that is our zipper. You can see, hopefully you can't see, but you can see that where we did this false stitch, I actually started my stitching right there, but it looks like one continuous line. And the same thing here. It's just going to look like one continuous line around the zipper. So that is one side of our zipper. We got to do the other. We're going to do it in, tape it on in the same manner as we did this other side. I'm going to take this zipper end and just kind of clip it out of the way. And then let's go ahead and get our other zipper on. All right, now that we have our other zipper taped on, we'll go back to the sewing machine and we're going to sew this side on the same way that we sewed the other. All right, again, leave a long tail and we'll get this zipper sewn onto this side. The other side of the zipper is now attached. I pulled my ends through to the wrong side and once again kind of tucked them with a needle underneath the zipper to keep them out of the way and not seen. And again, now you can see where we did that false stitching. It just looks exactly like we have just had one continuous stitch all the way across. But we didn't have to worry about trying to get both zippers on there at the exact same time to keep that stitch continuous. So a nice little trick there. All right, before we move on to our attaching our strap connector, we're going to go ahead and put our zipper on. You should be fairly even on this, but I'm going to guess there's a lot of you who aren't exactly even on this because it takes a little bit of practice. One side of the zipper is going to be a little tighter than the other. You're going to be going around those corners a little bit differently. So go ahead and put your zipper on and zip it up, and what you want is for your zipper to be fairly even. So you can kind of see here, which is nice because I'm glad I'm able to show this to you. You can see this side is a little longer than this side. Not like noticeably, you probably wouldn't even no one else would notice it, but it is a little bit, so I'm going to show you what to do. If one side is a little longer, you're going to unzip your zipper again and go ahead and pull it off. And the side that was a little longer, which was this side for me, I am going to just slightly offset that side. Not by much, because I wasn't off by too much. But, so you see now I have this just slightly offset here. And when I zip it back up, now we are much more even in our zipper. Okay, so you might have to try that a few different times to get your zipper even, but that's where we're going to go. So get your zipper all nice and even on there. Then sew across the bottom here so it doesn't fall off and you have to start over, and we'll move on to getting our strap connector on our wallet. Okay, so I sewed across the bottom of this zipper just to keep my zipper pull from coming off, because we're going to be unzipping the wallet, and we just don't want to undo all that. Now we're going to get our strap connector put onto our wallet. So go ahead and open the wallet back up. Go ahead and get the zipper all the way down so you can get it all the way open. And I want you to turn your wallet so the end of your zipper is on the left hand side of your space. This top portion here is going to be the back of the wallet. So when it's zipped up, your zipper pull is going to be on the left hand side. This will be the front. So this is the back of the wallet. So orientate it in this manner here so that your zipper pulls on the left. And we're going to be working at this top portion here. You're going to get your strap connector. I find it easiest to put little pieces of double-sided tape here. We're going to fold them over the D-rings an inch, so don't make them too long. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to slip the D-ring on each side and fold over your ends an inch around your D-ring. I'm going to put a clip here to help my tape kind of stick for just a minute. You're going to do that on both sides. Okay. Once we have that, we're actually going to get another piece of double-sided tape because we're going to stick this to our exterior main body here. We're going to put it here on the back side where we fold it over. Now, turn your strap connector so that it is wrong side against the right side of your exterior, and you're going to measure down the distance in the pattern, and you're going to center it on your wallet. Okay, and that's what we're going to use these pieces of tape here for, because we're going to, it's hard to get a clip at this distance. All right, so make sure this is where you want it. Take your ruler, put it across the top here. Make sure you're even all the way across. Make sure you're even centered here as well. Get that tape pressed nice and firmly down. Then we are going to go over to the sewing machine, and we're going to again sew a box. So I'm going to sew right here as close to the D-ring as I can. Use these stitch lines as a guide, sew down about 1/2 inch. Back up and to create a box. I'm going to do that on both sides to connect my strap connector to the exterior. All right, so we're going to sew a box just like we did on the wrist strap. We're going to sew as close as we can to this D-ring here, go down about 1/2 inch across, and then back up again, using these stitch lines as our guide. So we have one box done. We're going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. If you want to double check to make sure that nothing shifted, make sure you're the same distance from both sides. And we're going to do the same thing and sew the box on this side now. All right, get those threads trimmed up and then we'll put our rivets in. We have our strap connector sewn on with our nice rectangular boxes here. For just extra security and then, you know, just decorative, I'm going to put some rivets in here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take my hole punch. I'm going to punch a hole here in the center of the rectangle, making sure not to go through any of my stitch lines. I'm going to do it on both sides, and then we'll stick the rivets in. For this, I like to put just a little extra pieces of either some scrap foam, or I have some firm stabilizer here that I had laying on my table that I'm going to use. I like to put that behind the rivet on the interior side, just to give it just a little extra so nothing pulls through, because this cork can stretch. Now, because we've done a box, you probably won't get a lot of stretching or pulling on the rivets, but I like to be extra careful. So I'm going to put these pieces of firm stabilizer or little extra pieces of foam behind mine to give it just a little extra stability. Okay, real quick, I'm going to go over and set these rivets, and we are almost done with our exterior, and we'll be moving to the interior. Okay, I got my rivets set. The next thing that we're going to do before we move on to the interior is we are going to place the foam. If you're using foam, I like this. It gives the wallet a little extra luxurious feel to it. It gives it just a little bit of padding. It makes it nice and substantial feeling. So I like to use my fabric tack glue and just put a little bit of glue along just right here on the inside of my wallet on both ends here. You don't have to put too much. This is going to be sandwiched. Just, you want it to kind of be able to stick there in place. Just center this foam, top and bottom, side to side, and give it a firm press down. Okay, now your exterior is finished. We're going to move on to the interior, so just set this to the side. We're going to start our interior assembly with our zipper pocket. So you'll want your two zipper pocket pieces and your long pocket piece, which was template 3. And then of course you'll want your your interior zipper, which was a shorter zipper. We're going to start with drawing our zipper box on one of our zipper pockets. So I've already drawn my box. You're going to draw a 6.5 by 1 inch box on the wrong side of one of your zipper pocket pieces. And then you're going to cut it out. So I'm going to pause real quick and cut my zipper pocket out, or my zipper box out. Okay, I've got my zipper box cut out now. And what we're going to do is we're going to place our zipper inside center our zipper inside the zipper box. I've already put my double-sided tape on my zipper, so just put long pieces of double-sided tape on here to help hold it in place. I only take off one piece at a time. Make sure your zipper is closing to the left, and you're just going to center your zipper inside your zipper box. I feel with my fingers here to see where my ends are and make sure those are centered, and then I center the zipper portion within my box. Well, maybe. There we go. And then I just take off the other piece of tape. Just go ahead and get that zipper nice and centered. Now we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew. I can see a little bit of my tape here. Let me make sure that's out. Okay, we're going to sew around our zipper box, all the way around, about 1/8 of an inch away from our edge. All right, let's leave a long tail here instead of back stitching, and we'll pull that through so we have a nice clean start and stop. All right, I will pull my tails through to the wrong side and get those tied off, and we'll move to the next step. We've sewn around our zipper box. I tied off my threads there. We're going to now put the back on our zipper pocket. So get your other zipper pocket piece and you're going to put them wrong sides together and line everything up nice and even. Put a couple clips on here to hold it in place. And all we're going to do is sew across this top portion of the zipper pocket. We're going to leave the sides and the bottom undone. Those are going to get sewn at a later point. We're just going to sew across this top edge. Sewing just across the top edge here, we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch away and leave a long tail at the beginning and the end. Alright, I pulled my tails to the back and tied them off here at the back. Once this gets put into the wallet, you're not going to see these corners, so that's why I like to tie them off back here. Our next step is our long pocket. We're not going to do much to this long pocket. All we're going to do is we're going to put a stitch, a top stitch right along this diagonal, so that not the straight edge but the slanted edge here. We're going to just do a quick top stitch across that edge. It helps keep the cork fabric from stretching as things are going in and out of it a little bit. It also just, you know, adds a little bit of a decorative edge to it to keep it looking a little nicer. So we're going to go with sewing machine, sew across that edge, and then we are just going to clip it to our pocket and we'll be done with our zipper pocket. We're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of our long pocket along the slanted edge, leaving a long tail at the beginning and the end. Pull those tails through, tie them off to the back, and meet me back over for our next step. Alright, we have our top stitching on our long pocket. What we're going to do is we're just going to clip this in place, line up your sides and your bottom edge along your zipper pocket here, and just clip it in place. Doesn't have to be a whole lot of clips, just to kind of keep everything together. Now this part is done for the moment, so we're going to set it aside and we're going to move on to our interior card pocket assembly. For the card pocket assembly, you're going to need your 2 card pocket backs, and then you're going to need your card pockets. You're going to need 6 total of your template 1 and 4 total of your template 2. We're going to do the same thing with these that we did with our long pocket, and we're just going to top stitch down this diagonal edge, and we're going to do that on all 10 pieces. Sorry guys, it seems I recorded myself changing my bobbin halfway through instead of top stitching the pieces. So do the exact same thing you did on the long pocket and leave long tails at the beginning and the end. Pull them through to the back side and tie them off. Okay, after a quick bobbin change halfway through my top stitching, and I always feel like I should say, you know, 3 hours later, tying off all my ends, we have our card pockets top stitched. I went ahead and while I was doing that, I put on these little pieces of double-sided tape, which you'll see in the instructions, in the pattern instructions. This is going to just help kind of hold things in place while we're putting our card pockets on our card back. So I did that on all of my pockets, just a piece here at the small edge and then a piece over on the longer edge. And I think one of them fell off, so we'll use that one first. Okay. Our next step is to get our pockets onto our card back. Now, there are measurements in your pattern. I'm not going to give them here. You can just look at them in your pattern. I went ahead, just so I don't have to bring my ruler back and forth, I marked where all the measurements are. But look in your pattern, all the measurements are there. Your first measurement, you're going to measure up, or actually all the measurements, you're going to measure up from the bottom of your card pocket. And we're going to be placing our, the bottom of your card back. We're going to be placing our card pockets on. So go ahead and get your measurement, your ruler out. I like to lay mine just along this edge here. And then you're going to put your first template 1 pockets lining up your edge. I also use a little clip to hold that one in place. I'm going to get my matching one here for the reverse. Line up my edge. Now, if for some reason your card pockets don't quite meet, line up this outside edge first, and then worry about the middle, because as you sew these on, it is going to stretch over just a little, and it's better for it to stretch here than for it to overhang here. Also, you're not going to see these middle pieces except for the very bottom pocket. So if these don't quite meet here, no one's ever going to see it because these other ones lay over the top of it. Okay. All right. So get your first pockets put on using the measurements in the pattern. Use your double-sided tape to get those inside ones pressed down and held in place. We're going to go to the sewing machine, and I want you to sew just a scant, like 1/8 of an inch from this bottom edge here. And we're going to go all the way across, and then we're going to move on to the next pockets. All right, so like a scant 1/8 of an inch away from this bottom edge, and just sew all the way across both pockets. We're going to put on our next set of pockets. These are going to be template 2 pockets, and their tall edges will be put together for these. So it's going to be opposite what we did with the first ones. So again, measure up from the bottom, the distance marked in the pattern. You're going to line up this little edge. It should, let's zoom in just a little bit here for you. It should just meet right underneath where the first pocket ended. Move that down there. And we're going to do the next one. And again, just line it up there. For this one, you do want your inside edges to meet. If they're not going to go quite all the way across, it's better for those inside edges to meet, because you will see these peaks here, okay? And you won't see these smaller edges here once everything is sewn on. So get this pressed down nice and tight. We're going to go to the machine. We're going to sew across the bottom just like we did with the first pockets. And from here, I am going to just add the pockets at the sewing machine and just sew the rest of them on. Again, we're going to sew across the bottom here. You want to make sure you keep everything nice and lined up. All right, once again, adding these pockets is going to be done in the same method as we did. We're just going to alternate between the two templates. So I am just going to stay here at the sewing machine and add my pockets on. You're just going to measure up from the bottom to where the bottom edge of the pocket needs to go. And we're going to continue sewing them on. We're going to sew one more template, 1 pocket on, and then one more template, 2 pocket on, and then I'll show you what to do with that final set of pockets. Okay, we have 4 sets of pockets on. We're going to stop there. And the last set of pockets we are just going to clip on for the moment. For our last set of template 1 pockets, we are just going to use our tape and clips to hold them in place for the moment. So you're going to line these up, and they will line up right here at the edge at the bottom of the card pocket along this bottom edge. Now for this one, you do need the middles to meet because you will see these. So hopefully you've got your cuts nice and even here, and everything should line up nicely. All right, we're just going to clip that in place for now, and we are going to sew our pockets down the center here. So what I want you to do is to make sure all of your edges here in the middle are nice and straight and lined up and together. We're going to go back to the sewing machine. I want you to sew again just a scant 1/8 of an inch on each side of this middle seam, we'll call it, where your pockets meet in the middle here. You're going to sew just on either side of that a scant 1/8 of an inch. Okay, we're just going to sew down the middle on each side of where our pockets meet. Now that we have our middles secured in place, if you need to, trim any overhang. So if you have any edges here that are overhanging, go ahead and trim those up. I'm going to put my clip back on. Oops. For these bottom ones, since they're really only secure with a couple stitches in that center portion. But if you need to trim off any overhang, we're going to attach the back of the card pocket just like we did with the zipper pocket. If you are worried about the thickness of this in your machine, this piece is optional. You can just leave it off and then just have this as your card pocket. But I'm going to show you by the option of attaching this portion to it. I like having a card back just because I think it makes it look a little cleaner if it's not a raw back for your slip pocket. But if you're worried about thickness, you can leave this back portion off. So just clip it in place. And just like we did with the zipper pocket, all we're going to do is sew across this top edge to connect the two pieces. All right, we're just going to sew across this top edge 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. Again, I'm going to leave long tails at the beginning and the end. Our card pocket is now complete. So we have our card pocket and we have our zipper pocket. It is time to move on to the interior panel assembly. For the interior main panel assembly, you are going to need your other main panel. You're going to need your card pocket and your zipper pocket that you've already put together. You want to make sure on the main panel that you've marked your centers. And then we're going to place our card pocket and our zipper pocket. The tops of the card pocket and the top of the zipper pocket are going to be facing to the center of the main panel. And we're going to line those up edge to edge. And clip them in place. The distance between this side edge to your main pocket and, to your card pocket and to your zipper pocket is listed in the pattern. So go ahead and line those up, making sure your edges are aligned and making sure you're even here along the bottom of the pockets. You also want to make sure that this long pocket here on your zipper pocket doesn't get knocked out of alignment. You want to make sure that stays in line with your zipper pocket as well. Okay, I'm going to put a few more clips on here. And once you have these two pockets in place, we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way around in a nice big square. We're going to sew down the edge. We're going to sew across the bottom of the card pocket, back up, and then across the bottom of the zipper pocket. That will attach our pockets to our main panel piece. It will also close up these bottom edges and the sides of our pockets. So let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, I like to start right above my zipper pocket. So right here at the top of my zipper pocket, I start here, go around, and then in back here. It helps to, hide the start and stop just a little bit. I'm also adding one of my tags here to the zipper pocket. So that's getting put there. All right, so you're going to sew around your pockets across the bottom, 1/8 of an inch away from the edges. Okay, we have our pockets attached to our main body. If there's any overhang on your pockets, go ahead and trim those so it's all nice and square around. And we will move on to our final steps. Okay, we are ready for the final assembly. You're going to need your interior and your exterior. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our interior wrong sides together with our exterior. I'm actually going to flip it with the tail of your zipper pointed down. Go ahead and put your zipper pocket on the right side, your card pocket on the left side. It doesn't actually matter. You can orientate it any way you want. That's just the way I have it in the pattern. What I want you to do first is to find your center marks on both of your main panels and go ahead and clip those together so they're lined up. If you have any threads, make sure those threads are tucked in at this point. Okay, so only clip those middle panels there. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for us. Okay. So as your centers are clipped, make sure you can see your edges are lined up and even on both sides. And then all you need to do is just flip one of your ends over, one of your sides over, and we're going to glue down the interior here. Don't get too close to this center, just stay up here kind of toward the edge. I also like to put just a little bit here along the zipper line to kind of help keep things closed. So you're going to close that back down. You're going to tuck your zipper pocket interior into the zipper, the exterior zipper. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just put a little glue here. For this other side panel, I'm going to put a little here along the zipper. And then we'll flip and tuck this other side back in. So tuck those corners down inside your zipper. Give it a good press. Feel along your zipper. And you should be able to feel that your edge of your exterior matches up with the edge of your interior. So just kind of check that. Just feel along your zipper and check that your edges are lined up along the sides as well. They should line up fairly easily because if your centers are marked correctly, then your edges should be as well. All right, so give that a good press. If you are using a glue that you need to let dry, go ahead and let that dry just for a few minutes. And then we're going to go around and we're going to clip our wallet sides together. You shouldn't have to use too many clips unless you just want to. With the glue holding everything together, that should help things stay in place. But put a few on just to be safe. You notice I put the glue along here along the zipper edge. That was just to kind of keep this edge here in place. Okay. All right, once you have everything clipped and secured, we are going to go over to the sewing machine. Now, I like to sew again from this side of my wallet because I like the way my top stitching looks with my top thread. So I want to put that on the outside of the wallet. You can do it either way. But again, we're going to use the same trick with the pins. And this time, instead of going all the way around like we did with the interior, we're going to do the same type of thing we did when we did the zipper on the exterior, and we're only going to do half of our wallet at a time. So I'm going to use this pin here, and I'm going to mark where my zipper pocket starts, and it should just slide right down in to that foam. And I'm going to mark where my zipper pocket stops over here. Okay, so I'm going to mark those top pieces of my zipper pocket with these pins. So that way, when I'm sewing here, I know where I need to stop or start and stop. What we're going to do is we're going to start here at this pin, sew around the wallet and stop at the next pin. And we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the edge. I like to use my other stitch line as a guide, so I'm sewing a 1/8 of an inch away from my other stitch line. Whatever is easier for you, if you want to sew from the edge or from your other stitches, just make sure you use the correct measurements. So if you're sewing from your other stitches, it's an 1/8 of an inch. If you're sewing from the edge, it's a 1/4 of an inch. So let's go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew just around 1/2 of our wallet. We're going to leave a long tail here at the beginning, and we're going to sew from pin to pin, which will be at the top edge of that inner pocket. Make sure you flip your D-rings out of the way so you don't accidentally bump those while you're sewing. We now have the interior and the exterior sewn together on this first side. You can see I used those stitch lines, so I'm nice and even all the way around. I'm going to show you what I did. I pulled my threads through to the wrong side here, and then instead of cutting them short, I'm going to use a needle and I'm going to tuck them in underneath. So I already did that over here. So I'm going to show you how I did it. Let me zoom in a little here for you. Okay, sorry, that went really out of focus while I was trying to get that on there. So all I did was I tied it off, and now I'm just going to use that same hole and just tuck my thread in between my 2 layers there. And then I will just tuck it all, just kind of poke it. I'm going to cut it a little shorter here. But then I'm just going to tuck those ends just down in between the 2 layers of my interior and my exterior. All right, so we did our first side. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to get my pins again, and I'm just going to stick it straight down here so it goes probably into my foam padding there, right at the start, at the top of my card pocket here. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, right down there, and so that I have it marked for when I flip it over. I'll know where to start and stop my stitches. Same thing we did on the other side. Just going to start here at the first pin, sew my way around, stop at the second one. Again, either using a 1/4 inch or from the edge, or a 1/8 of an inch from your last set of stitches as your guide. All right, let's get our second side stitched together. Again, leave long tails at the beginning and the end. We have the second side sewn. The interior and the exterior are now attached all the way around. So what we're going to do next is to get our zipper tail tucked in, and the wallet will be finished. Before we tuck the zipper tail, I want you to go ahead and close your wallet up and zip it all the way closed, just to check all your alignment. So go ahead and check here, make sure everything is still aligned how you want it. If your zipper got, I don't know, misaligned or is a little bit crooked, you can unpick your basting stitches here and put the zipper back on. But if it still looks good, we'll keep going. So go ahead and unzip your zipper again, open it up and turn it so that you have the right side of the wallet facing up and you're seeing the wrong side of your zipper. We're going to get a little bit of double-sided tape, and we're going to place it on our zipper tail here. So go ahead and zip your zipper up just a little bit so it's closer to the wallet, and we're going to put some double-sided tape here along the edge of our zipper tail. Your zipper tail should be somewhere between 2–2.5 inches long. If it's longer than that, feel free to trim it. But don't trim it shorter than about 2 inches, because you want to have enough that's going to stay tucked up in here, and it won't keep slipping out. So go ahead and keep it long enough that it'll stay tucked nicely, so about 2 to 2.5 inches. Once we get the tape on there, what we're going to do is we're just going to fold our tail wrong side to wrong side here. And we're just going to kind of fold that zipper tape in on itself so that we have a nice piece here, nice sturdy piece that we're going to tuck in. I want you to pull your zipper up as much as you can, so it's as close to the wallet when it's open as you can. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to use this opening that we left, and we're going to tuck our zipper into the opening. If you have the foam piece, I like to tuck my zipper tail between the interior and the foam. I don't know if I can open it well enough for you to see. So it's between the interior and the foam. That just kind of keeps it from getting a bump in it, or from feeling the bump on the exterior. It's going to be closer to the interior. If you have a little stiletto here, just, use that to keep it kind of centered in this area. All right, so once it's mostly tucked in, go ahead and fold your wallet up and pull that zipper closed. All right, so you're going to see you have this nice hump here. So this is what we don't want. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take a stiletto or some sort of pointy piece, and you're just going to tuck your zipper. You can just keep kind of pushing it in until it's all nicely tucked in. And then when you zip your wallet, you are going to have a nice smooth non-lump there at the end. All right. Once it is tucked in how you want it, I like to get just a little bit of fabric glue and use that to help hold it in place, because with use it can kind of untuck itself. So I just get a little bit of fabric glue and I just put just a small amount. You don't want to put too much because you don't want it to really overflow or anything like that. So I just put a small amount right there, and then I open it up and I put a small amount just on the inside as well. Okay. Make sure my pieces are tucked in nicely still. And since I was pulling it on a little bit, let's get that back where I want it. Okay, now as you keep it zipped up here, those edges should press together, so the glue will hold. All right, so there we are. We have our wallet complete. And oh, I almost forgot. If you want, because we have this other edge here open as well, if you want to, and I typically do, I'm going to open it back up for us. I put a little bit of glue on this piece too, just right here along the edge. And typically for this one, because the zipper's not there, I just get a small clip. And I just put it right there. And then zip everything back up again and let that dry. So that will keep that edge closed as well. Now your wallet is complete. Let that glue dry. Keep it closed for a couple hours just to make sure there's no shifting in the zipper, that it's nice and secure. And once you are good to go, you can either add a wrist strap and carry it, or you can add your crossbody strap and carry it crossbody, or you can just slide it right down into your bag. I hope you've enjoyed making this Laurel Crossbody wallet, and I'll see you next time.